Yeah, like you can't like move too much. Denise and Mike are trying to like get their space.
Okay. That's all right.
We're so excited to have Denise here today to talk about travel.
Oh my God, what is that doing?
You told me not to move. When we used to do a lot of Zoom meetings, there'd be times where I'll just sit there and see if anybody asks, are you frozen? Like, is the feed not coming through okay?
See, that's why I picked him.
That's all I can
You started out awkward, that's for sure. Love the show. Yes.
So we're talking about what? Travel?
Well, Denise does the amazing thing and she sells real estate in other countries.
Okay.
And so she travels to other countries and does like trips to teach people about other countries.
Okay.
So
Where?
All over the world.
Okay.
Yeah. I originally studied emerging markets, which, that was back in 2015. In 2015, we were traveling to places like India, Vietnam, Kuala Lumpur, Mexico, Brazil. Those were some of the destinations that were in emerging markets. And then once I had enough experience, I said, I want to travel where I want to go. And so I just kind of, I kept traveling more and more and getting to know different places. And mostly what I mean by travel, I studied different business models in each country. And that helped me understand a lot more of the transaction flow, how international business was done, cultural submersion, which meant food, fun places to visit, you name it. Yeah.
So are a lot of these transactions within the country that they're taking place in, or are people selling here and buying in other countries? What does that look like?
So there's two main prongs to international business, and that's the outflow and then the inbound. When it's the outbound, that is people, purchasing outside of the United States and looking to purchase in other countries, and then the inbound is it could be expatriates or wanting to repatriate back into the United States, or people outside of the United States looking to buy inside the United States. Mm-hmm. So my headquarters are here in Idaho, and this is where I make all the magic happen. And then depending on where the person is wanting to go, there's there's a protocol in which we follow in order to get them to that destination. It's the initial meetup and where are you going, what are the needs, understanding more of the investment type, because it's going to look different on their taxes, whether it's retirement, whether it's vacation home, whether it's a second home, and so just kind of going through that and then aligning them with what makes sense. Yeah.
So you do trade missions.
Yes.
Tell us about trade missions.
Trade missions are fantastic. I learned about trade missions working with government institutions. Institutional support is everything. That's basically the core of doing international business. I've done trade missions with Governor Otter. I've done trade missions with Governor Little. And then I've done private missions myself in which I coordinate. And what we do is we basically work in conjunction with the U.S. government, and we help get a vetted list of different developers. So there could be two different missions. The first one is to identify in-country partners, which is basically how I'm able to align my inventory. And then the second part to that is also helping clients explore other territories in which I coordinate and we guide. And we invite them. It's a whole week. I do one in October, and it's to the Riviera Maya. You guys are welcome to come with me. Please come with me. I think you'd love it. I chose the Riviera Maya because it's stunning. To me, I love all of Mexico. I grew up in Mexico, and it was in a touristy part, but had a beautiful childhood. But when I got myself to the Riviera Maya, there was just something so quiet and so stunning about the beauty that I said, I want to work here more. And so now every October I invite colleagues, I invite investors who want to come along, and I show them investments starting $80,000 all the way to the $1 million marker. We customize it. We walk different developments during the day. But we also incorporate like fun activities that, allow you to see more of the place, the ocean, the difference in cenotes. Chichen Itza is a great place to visit. But yeah, they're wonderful.
So you don't have to be like a high dollar investor. You can have, $80,000 is a lot of money, but that's not for an investment, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that was, when I first started foreign investment and I started working with international business, I realized that there was a couple of things that were really missing. There was a gap in the market, and that's where I kind of wanted to really fill it in. Number one, I started to see that I had clients that I had people crying. Oh, I spent all my money and nothing got built, and my sister spent it. And I realized that there was a lot of people that were relying on family members to make these investments. And they were working really hard here all to get home and find out that nothing was done. And so I thought to myself, man, there is a need for somebody to really legitimize these transactions. Like, why are they relying on people that have nothing to do with real estate? Well, then the second part of it that I realized is that not many people were prone to purchase these investments that were very affordable and were giving them wonderful ROIs. But the reason why is because they were under the understanding that they needed to have like at least a minimum $1 million, or they had to have a ton of money, you know. And the reality is that you're right, $80,000 is still a lot of money, but it's a heck of a lot more affordable for, like, you know, a lot of my clients right now that are, you know, done fixer-uppers in the past. It's hard because they'll call me and they'll be like, hey, do you have anything for $130,000? I'm like, I do, but it's south of the border.
And is it, so if I had $80,000 and I wanted to spend it, what would I get?
You would get a studio downtown Tulum called, there's a specific development that I'm thinking right now called Zunique. And Zunique is actually really, it's so neat because it actually comes furnished. It's turnkey entirely, and luxury price points are different in each country. So what you're getting is actually really beautiful, luxurious, you know, studio apartment in downtown Tulum, and comes, you know, turnkey with all of your furniture, so you don't have to worry about, you know, couches and beds and sheets and all of that.
That much.
So from an escrow perspective, with the money that, let's just say the $80,000, where does that go? Who ends up with that? Is there a third party holder for that when you're purchasing these properties, or is it just going directly to the seller? How does that part work?
Oh, okay, yeah. So escrow is certainly a thing in Mexico, and as a matter of fact, the only company that I know in the Riviera that really ventured out there was Stewart Title. And they went under Stewart Title, and it just didn't work. They actually had to rebrand and more like customize it to, you know, to fit more in Mexico, and then it worked. Most people are not accustomed to use title and escrow. They do directly with the developer, but it's certainly an option. And so during my tours, when people come, you know, and they're used to transacting through title companies, what we do is we set up, you know, one of the days, and we go to the title company. I introduce them to the lawyers that run title, and then they do a full session, you know, in which this is how we hold the money, this is how we disperse it out to the developer, these are the advantages of working through us to a third party. And so it is an option, but it's not very common that people would use it.
Is it safer? It sounds like it might be safer.
Well, it depends, because typically, so a big part of my job and a big part of how I built this business was vetting my developers. I literally, before I even open market to foreign investment and saying, hey, I have this development, I spent 3 good years solidly of my own money going back and, you know, just visiting different developers, understanding more of the business model. Again, working with U.S. government, you know, saying, give me a list. I need to know which ones have great in-country credit, which ones have good reputation. And because that basically removes a big layer of uncertainty. I wanted to work with developers that had deep pockets. I didn't want to work with developers that needed your money to build, because that's a big red flag, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, we can't start unless you give us a deposit. Uh-oh, why? You know, and so the developers, that's my promise to my clients when they work with me and they work with these developers, because that is a very high risk. Oftentimes, they call it the margarita fever. People go out there, they love what they see, have a few margaritas, and they're like, I'm going to buy. And then
I usually buy clothes, but
yeah.
on Amazon, like, right? I don't spend $80,000 on a condo.
Right.
But you could if you quit spending all your money on clothes.
And Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Mm-hmm. My husband would literally divorce me if I was like, I went to Mexico and bought a condo. He'd be like, you bought a dog, you bought a car. No.
Yeah, at least you have a place to live now that you're being kicked.
Yeah. Right. Oh, he would be mad for just a little bit, but I don't think he'd divorce you, because he'd be like, whoa, this is really beautiful.
I don't know. You haven't met him.
Oh, God. You better not.
He doesn't watch this.
Oh, no. But yeah, you know, it's a really, have you been out to the Riviera? Have you been out to, ventured over to the Cancun area?
Yeah.
Where did we stay? Barcelona? Maya?
We were at the Riviera. We were at the lake. It has golf course and it's got several, it has a timeshare, it's a timeshare one.
There's so many.
It was a Weston property, I think.
That's
Oh, okay.
south of Playa del Carmen, right?
Yes, I think, yes it is, yeah.
We went there a few years ago.
Okay, yeah, so the Riviera is actually a full territory, and it starts, very top of Cancun City, and then moves down to Puerto Morelos, and then Playa del Carmen, and then you have Tulum, Mahahual, Bacalar, and all of that place right there is called like the Riviera. And
how far inland does it go?
like as far as that I don't know. I don't know exactly how far. I know it goes along the shore. It doesn't necessarily. I don't know how far it goes inland. Yeah, but it's becoming like one of the things that you would be surprised, but actually, there's one thing in common about the Riviera Maya that is very comparable to Idaho. You want to know what it is?
Yes.
They got one main highway.
Oh.
They got their I-84. And it's exactly like I-84. Every time you go, it's working on itself.
Yeah.
There's construction on it. And I'm like, it's so funny because I'm like, wait, I thought I wasn't on I-84. I'm back in I-84,
Do they have cones like we do here?
Yep.
Are they orange or a different color?
No, it's orange, yeah.
Right. Some feels like home.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean,
There's an ocean.
exactly. And there's more potholes for sure. Yeah, we got the river.
That's a
Yeah.
little
I
different.
don't know. My exchange student doesn't really find that the reservoir and the ocean are the same. She's from Mallorca.
Oh,
I
It's
can
hard to
see
compare.
that. She's like, I can't see the ground in the water. I'm like, yes, of course not, because it's a mud puddle. It's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, no, very different. The waters out there are crystal clear. They're so beautiful. That was the part that I really liked the most because I've been, like I said, every place. It's not to say that Puerto Vallarta is not as beautiful, but it's to say it's a jewel. But what I like is the white sandy beaches, and that's the one thing that I liked along, the coast of the Riviera is the white sandy beaches, no rocks. It's just crystal clear, and I like to see where I'm swimming.
And it's safe, right? I've talked to you about this before. So because I think that's a concern people have about buying property in Mexico. We'll talk about first, and then we'll go to other countries because I know you've been to other ones too. So
Yeah. So Mexico's a very peaceful place. It really is, and I think that for many, many years, the narrative has been the same, and that's why I thought to myself, this is an opportunity for me to really showcase what Mexico's about. And I think that, like in the United States, the further you go up north, the less you really get to see what Mexico's all about. You kind of hear a lot about it in the news, but it's not to discredit the news because I think they're a great source of information, but I also think that headliners, if they cost more steering people, they're obviously going to make the rounds a lot more, and oftentimes things happen, but I've gone to the Riviera. See, I actually I took a sabbatical in the Riviera Maya, and I did a whole month in Tulum in a little cabin that had no locks, like 0 locks. And basically, if I closed the door, the only thing that was holding it was a tiny little stick. And so, that tells you the level of security, because all those places are really, really peaceful. There's a lot of Mayan influence, and I don't know if most people know this, but those lands are preserved. Because when the Inquisition came to Mexico, when they were being invaded, the Mayas and all of the different, tribes ran to the south, and they started building temples. And so by the time the government and, the new colonizers came, they formed a treaty, and they said, we want to preserve these lands. We want them to be intact. And so they left them, and that's where you see, Chichen Itza, that's where you see the Tulum Mayan. So the Tulum ruins are the only ruins that are next to the ocean in the entire world. And they're stunning. I mean, you literally get a chance to see the piece of history. And so all of those places have a lot of influence. I have traveled back and forth to Mexico for all my life, and people usually ask me, hey, listen, what about cartels? And I'm like, look, are you looking to join one? Well, no. And I'm like, then you're not going to have any issues, and I myself have a protocol. Nothing good happens after midnight. Now, I know that people want to go out and stuff, it's safe, but typically if I'm working, that's midnight it's my time where I go back, I've never had an issue. I've never had to worry. People are really kind. And as a matter of fact, I think that's the only place in Mexico where people are very much embracing of different cultures because you have Europeans living there, you have Canadians living there, you have Americans. And that's not the case around the world too, not everywhere do they accept tourists. Not everywhere are they as kind to the tourist, and that's one of the places in which they fully survive on tourism. And I mean, it's to the point that during COVID, in the United States, I know that we were kind of in shambles because there's some people like, we don't want to wear a mask and this and that. When I was in Mexico during that time, I promise you, people were following orders to the point where you couldn't even enter a street vendor, a little shack street vendor without a mask, and they would give you hand sanitizer, and everybody was following the rules because they're like, we survive off of this. We need the tourists to come back, and we need them to feel safe. So for me, I have to say, from my standpoint, it's been a safe place. I had a beautiful childhood growing up in Mexico, and again, that wasn't even a tourist place. I grew up in Durango, which is far from being, touristy, but it was quite neat. We were never, I don't know what that world would look like to be involved in anything that's bad, because again, we kind of did what we did. We worked hard. We did our thing, and then, we did hear in the news, but it was like for people we never knew, or if we did, it was far away from us, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I highly recommend it for any solo travelers. I think that those places if you want to solo travel, and I'm a female that's, solo traveling, and I spent a whole month there. I encourage other people that, are feeling like they need that, they need to disconnect, because I didn't have Wi-Fi in my cabin. I didn't even have a fridge, you guys. I had like a foam cooler that I bought some ice, and then I bought like all these like different dry food and stuff, because I was so disconnected from the world. But I would walk into my little cabin, and a mile away I could see the Mayan ruins. Like, it was stunning.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Americans can own land there, or is it a lease?
So thank you for asking that one. I think that one is one of in order for you can own property as a foreigner. You're owning it. But just give you just a really quick backstory. Back in the day, if you wanted to own property as a foreigner in Mexico, you had a name borrow. So you had to ask Mr. Pepe, hey, can I borrow your name? And, I need to purchase property that's 50 kilometers off the shore. Only 50 kilometers off the shore is protected. So if you wanted beachfront, you had a name borrow a long time ago. Well, you can see how that started going sideways. Because then as soon as they would close, Mr. Pepe would be like, hey, thank you so much. This is under my name. Appreciate you. And so, yeah. So
Mr. Pepe wasn't so about forward.
Exactly.
It's a gift.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So those things
Either I like to give money away to people. But I did borrow his name for a while.
Exactly. Yeah. So Mr. Pepe, there was a lot of those cases. And so what they did is the Mexican government said, we're going to put an end to this. We're losing foreign investment. We need a safer way for them to invest. And they created what they call the fideicomiso, which is basically a trust is established with the National Bank of Mexico. And you are the beneficiary. You can sell, you can rent, you own it, it's yours. But what it is you create a long-term escrow fee to keep that fideicomiso for you as a beneficiary, and it's transferable to your kids. So you can transfer it as well. It's transferable and it's renewable every 51 years, and the long-term escrow fee is $500 a year to set up. And all of that gets incorporated. Now, this is the part where I feel like people need to really understand. A lot of the horror stories that you hear, no, you can't own and this and that, I can tell you that it comes from people that don't do their due diligence. They don't hire an expert to get the paperwork done correctly, because the paperwork needs to be done at the closing table, and it needs to be done by a lawyer in order to establish that. And so what ends up happening when they don't do those three things? Things go sideways, and Mexico, it's not that the system is made to, like it's rigged against him, is that they simply didn't hire the experts to make sure that things were getting done correctly. So as long as you get your paperwork done, you're the owner. You can sell. As a matter of fact, that's why people buy, is because they want to take their equity when they're ready to sell. So.
And how is the equity there?
It's great. As a matter of fact, so right now I'm seeing for all of my developments along the coast, they're anywhere between 9 to 13% ROIs net. And every year after year, they're gaining equity about 13, 20%. Now, mind yourself that a lot of these, like the higher the ROI that people are experiencing is because they're not leveraging any of it. So they're purchasing with cash. So if you're, obviously if you get a loan, that ROI may not look the same for you as if it does to somebody that buys it outright.
So I can get a loan,
Yes.
but is it the same as an American 30-year mortgage that the government backs, or is it like a different kind of loan?
You can get a loan for international loans, but the minimum that they will lend is $250,000. So you have to buy something that's above that. And then they're actually American companies. Like right now, I work with one called Moxie, and they're in the United States, and they borrow for these places in Mexico. And one of the things that I like about them is that they actually allow you to refinance as well too. And obviously, you have to know that with international loans, it's going to be higher rate. So whatever rate you get in the United States, you can tack on 3 more points on that because it's a premium, it's higher risk, and they will ask you between 25 to 30% down, on the loan, but they will finance it to the 30 years out.
Oh, they will?
Yeah,
Okay.
they will.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That $80,000 investment is looking better every day.
It is really, I know. I'm going to Mexico and I'm buying with cash.
Yes. October is the time. Let's go.
Not this October.
Next October then.
Okay, so the one trip that we were talking about when we were talking about this show was she went to a very fancy place.
Take a guess.
I'm supposed to guess?
Very fancy, very
Chandler's?
posh.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yes.
That's very fancy actually.
That is very fancy, very posh.
Mm-hmm.
But this is out of the country,
Or region?
very expensive.
Or vowels?
Not on this continent.
Here's the big giveaway. Middle East.
Okay. I don't know. I'm not going to
They
guess.
filmed a Sex in the City there.
That was the second movie?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch it.
But you know where they went?
No.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You don't follow Sex in the City?
Oh, really?
Oh,
No.
big mistake.
Now
Just
you'll start
kidding.
following it because your phone's hearing it.
Well,
so.
it's-
Your wife is going to be very upset with me. You're like,
Yeah, right.
why should we have you watch the show?
Where'd they go?
Dubai.
Okay.
Dubai.
So that's why you do that, right? Is when you get there, you're like, are you going to do this? Are you going to do this? Buy.
Dubai. Yes,
Right.
that's,
Dubai,
that's,
exactly.
that's how
obviously-
they got their name.
So
Yeah.
how many times have you been there?
In transit, I've been many times, but that was my first time actually working in Dubai. And it was, I have to say, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, it was fantastic.
And she's a woman in the airport
Yeah.
working as a businesswoman in Dubai.
Mhm.
I think that's
Absolutely.
so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
very,
you, yeah.
very comfortable, very.
Oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, I think Dubai is one of the safest countries in the world. And I mean that in every aspect, every sense. There's a couple of things about Dubai that I like. Oftentimes when I travel to different countries and exploring these, different businesses and seeing the opportunities, it doesn't necessarily mean that I personally love the place. It means that it's good for business, but I don't necessarily feel like, oh, I want to come back here. Like, they don't necessarily go hand in hand. Or sometimes I'm just like, I love this place. I see myself here, but there's no business, And Dubai is like basically the both.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can see myself there personally. I absolutely thrived working there. I mean, Dubai is a global hub. If you want to be global, that's the place to be because I attended the International Property Show, the IPS. They have it there year after year. You had vendors from Portugal. You had vendors from Spain. You had vendors from Batumi. You had vendors from all over the world. And then they had one day where it was Women Empowerment Day, which, to be honest with you, I think as a female traveling around the world, there was different stereotypes that I had heard about Dubai and even just the Middle East itself, And so I was like, I stayed open-minded, because I said, let's see what we can, what we find. And I actually found myself finding more business opportunities in Dubai than I ever have in any place I've ever visited. And I mean, that to me, it spoke so highly of the place. And not only that, but they have they have very strict rules. And because they have very strict rules is the reason why people are not compelled to rob you. They're not compelled to, do bad stuff. And so therefore, as a female, I mean, I took the metro on my own. I was literally going down to, by the way, KFC is amazing in Dubai.
Does it use different oil? Or is it not chicken?
It's real chicken. It's
Sure.
it's absolutely real chicken, and not only that, but like I ended up getting like, there was all these different things that were like, Dubai is so expensive. Here's what Dubai offers you. They're like, hey, do you want this, or do you want a little bit more, or do you want a lot more, or hey, do you want this much more? It kind of gives you like the different steps of what you're wanting, and like my KFC was like, how much was it? Like maybe $8, but I had like 4 pieces of chicken, bread, coleslaw, mashed potatoes, my drink, and I was like,
That sounds like my teenage son's meal.
I was like,
But not for $8.
No, it's like 80.
yeah. So, but it was really tasty, and so yeah, I did. I walked around a lot. We went to the Gold Souk Market, which I recommend you go to. I think it's fantastic. It's a total tourist trap. It is waiting for you too, because you don't even buy; they sell you stuff, and they sell it to you in such a way that you're like, I didn't even know I needed that. You walk out of there with stuff that you're.
Sounds like your place to go.
Yes, that sounds
You
like
don't
my
even
place
need to get on Amazon.
I don't even have to have a cocktail.
Seriously, it's fantastic. They have. I think my only recommendation is that if you're gonna buy gold, like know about gold, before you actually go there, because it's like everything that is there is gold. So they have like full body armor, so made out of gold, and they have like t-shirts that are
You could be a
gold.
superhero.
Yeah.
Need 2 good shoulders.
Yes. Well, maybe, but one would cure it.
So what type of property are people buying there?
So right now I'm representing Bengadi, and Bengadi is a developer that's been there long-standing for many years in Dubai. Actually, in the last 10 years, Dubai has flourished. I don't know if you've seen a progression of the map of Dubai, but it's literally just a bunch of buildings in the desert at first, and then it just kind of becomes like, just started transforming. Bengadi Towers, there's a collaboration with Mercedes-Benz, and so right now, if you're looking to buy a 1-bedroom studio in the Bengadi Tower, starts at $2 million, but you get your own private pool. So it's a 62 tower, 62 floor tower, but each floor has its own pool. And then not only that, but you have a garage on the side where you park your Bugatti, and then it takes it up to your floor every night so that you have your car, with you.
I would like that.
Me too. Those are goals.
I sleep with my iPad every night, so maybe I should start sleeping in my car. My son sleeps in his car when he goes fishing, so the bears don't get him.
Oh, well, there you go. You would definitely like this.
Not a lot of bears on floor 58.
No, maybe not any in Dubai at all, because they're furry and that's hot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think Dubai, depending on which district you buy, is basically, the type of investment that you seek. The entry level investment there is about $162,000. So if you buy into Danubi Tower, there you have again, a 1-bedroom studio. I think those are the easiest for me to talk about because that's kind of the entry level point. But Danubi, you're going to be at 162. You're not going to be in the metropolis. You're not going to be in the hub. Whereas Bengadi is in the business district. If you have the rail there, you have the Burj Khalifa. You have the Dubai Mall. By the way, Elizabeth, you got to have some margaritas and go to the Dubai Mall for sure.
When's the next trip there? October?
She's going in April next year.
April.
Yeah, April next year.
It's about tax time. It should be fun.
I know.
Yeah, I got time to save $2 million.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So how far out is the $162,000 one?
That one, I would say that you're talking like maybe 30 minutes away. You're like in metro. You're if you don't have a vehicle, obviously, because I think a lot of people do rely on the public transportation in the metros to get to where they need to be, at least to the center. So you're further out. It's not necessarily like you're like in a bad place, but it's definitely not going to be close to all the different amenities that you'd want to be close to, or like the distractions.
Yeah. Is there one highway there too, just like there is?
No, now with them, because they said like, oh, you guys need to rent a car. I'm like, oh no. Unless I'm familiar with the place, I know my limitations. And the thing about GPS is that Google Maps works great, but the thing about Google Maps is that it is like take a left there. It doesn't tell you like up ahead. It's like there, and you're like, and so you have to like.
You have to have a navigator.
Yeah. I recommend. What I do every single time is I go down to the hotel lobby and I tell them I need to hire a driver for the week. And They give me the same driver. He waits for me during appointments. He, I basically hired him for the whole week to just be with me so that I have the same driver. I bring him coffees in the morning. I kind of, he's great. If I have to wait, like, I'll make sure that I give him, because they work off tips. So they'll give you like the daily rate, but then on top of that, I'll tip them, because sometimes if it's an appointment that's going to take 2 hours and they're waiting out in the car 2 hours, I want to make sure that I compensate them. But it's great. I think it's a good way to get around for the first time. And then once you're familiar, then, I ventured out to the metro, because I was like, I feel safe doing this. They have women and children cards, which are fantastic. I'm like, we need that everywhere. You're not like bunched in with everyone, like this. Like you're literally, the women and children card. It's, it just feels safer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like Titanic, women and children.
Right.
Yeah.
First. Right?
First.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do they have swing sets? Just women and children, like it'd be like Playland at McDonald's.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Those are gross.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
She said it wasn't gross.
Mhm.
So
They have
it's
McDonald's
not really
there?
like McDonald's.
Yes.
There's
20
McDonald's everywhere.
Is it better than here?
Yes, and
Like
it's over
KFC.
24/7.
Okay.
Does it have different food? What's the different thing that they have on the menu?
I didn't actually notice for the different food. I went straight for the Whopper. I was like, yeah, just give me what I
It's not
know.
Burger King.
Burger King.
Or not the Whopper, sorry,
Big Mac.
Or
the Big Mac. Yes, the Big
It's
Mac.
bigger
Yeah.
there than here. It's shrinking here.
It is. But you know what? I was thinking too that in Tulum they have a Burger King, and their
Whopper.
Whoppers are.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Burger King. So I was like, but yeah, their Whoppers are good. Like they're flavorful. They taste different, and so I just think that a lot. That's why so I don't know if you guys know this, but in other countries, places like Walmart, Burger King, and McDonald's are actually luxurious. They're not like to go, and they're not like fast food places. Like I remember like when they first opened Walmart in my town, Mexico, like many, many years ago, like only people that were upper class were going to Walmart, and that was the thing is like now, and you come to America and you're like, we have the things that like people at Walmart, or whatnot.
Right.
And yeah, so it's different. I think in different countries, like, they're not considered like fast food. They're actually made slow.
Oh, that, yeah.
People used to have their birthday party. They still do that here. Birthday parties at McDonald's. You remember those?
Yes, I do remember those.
I think I don't know. After COVID, things sort of changed at
It was way
McDonald's.
before that because they used to have those trees with. I always thought it was butter, but I think they were fries in the trees in the little kids section.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
I never really paid
They
attention.
had characters that would come out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ronald would come out.
yeah.
We don't even have Ronald anymore.
Grimace.
None of them
The
come out. They did that when I was little.
Right.
Yeah, that puts me back a few years.
Yeah. Well, they did that too.
Supersized everything.
Right? When
That's
the
what
Super
caused it,
Size Me movie came out.
Oh.
Told you how bad it was to eat at McDonald's.
Yeah, I remember
So
that.
I have 2 minutes because I have closings coming up.
Okay.
But you two are welcome to hang out as long as you want.
Do you want
Okay.
to tell us anything else?
And I'm not saying that to cut this short at all.
No, I love this, but we can have her
Okay.
come back.
Yeah, definitely. We can, anytime you guys want to continue the conversation, more about global, I think there's in my experience, there's a lot of things that really teach you how to sell. They teach you how to do things, like in real estate. But I think that when it comes to foreign investment, it really teaches you how to grow money. And I think that's a big takeaway that I want to close with is that it's not necessarily, I love the idea of the travel, but what I realized that, there's all these affordable investments in which my clients can be making money and it's giving them ROIs. And so that's why I facilitate these services because I want more people to do it. I want more people to tell their good story, and to make money. It's like, yeah.
So if I had a client that I wanted to come and buy a house in Mexico, do you do referral fees?
I do actually, and I do want to be very clear with this. Depending on the country and the agreement is how I can actually coordinate the referral fees. Now in Mexico, hands down, I've already negotiated that with my developers and I'm the strategic partner to them, so I can pay a full 2% of the total purchase price to any of my agents that say we have a referral. But that varies from country to country and sometimes from region to region. Because like for example, Cabo does not like to pay any sort of referrals. Like they will literally pay you a very minimal fee. Sorry, Cabo, but it's the truth. It's the truth. And so, and I'm not saying that I won't help with that. The only thing is that I have to set the expectation for my agent because if he's expecting a 2% in Cabo, I don't even get that.
And we have to, with antitrust, you've already negotiated this ahead of time and it's what you're offering, not with anybody. It's not a set fee that the whole world is expecting.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
I just am doing that in case we get a lawyer
Yes.
looking at this, thinking that you're trying to set prices.
Exactly.
It's something you've negotiated.
Yeah, we're not setting, by the way. Please leave us alone. We're trying to just live our lives peacefully. And yes, this is something that I do offer. And again, it's negotiable. And and I think if anything, that is a starting point. But again, region to region it varies. And I set that expectation with my agents. I'm like, where are they going? Oh, they're going to Holland. Okay, well, let me see what I can negotiate. And then I'll come back to the table and let you know what I was able to to work a deal with, and then from there I can share referral fees.
So I've heard you go to China, you've gone to Dubai, Mexico, you just said Holland. Will you do like any other European countries?
Yeah, so I get a lot of requests for Portugal, I get requests for the UK, other places that I work with is Taiwan, I've worked in Nepal, I've worked in Kuala Lumpur, I know I'm missing a few, but Costa Rica as well too, yes. Panama's a big one too. So that's another place that I like to work with. I've gotten requests from Brazil, but I haven't necessarily dabbled too much into it. It was just too complicated. So I do have there's places that I do draw the line. I'm like, look, we're walking into uncharted territories, but Dubai is another place too that I'm working with. And then the one that I just picked up that I'm now working with is Batumi, Georgia. Have you guys heard of Batumi?
Is that in Russia?
Yeah, that's over by Turkey. That's over by Russia.
So Georgia is not Georgia where the Bulldogs play.
No.
Georgia.
Right.
So thank you for coming. I want to let Alex go and.
You guys can still stay.
It's
You're
only
passionate about
after.
this, which is wonderful. Do you do seminars or anything to get people introduced to this, or how does that work? How do people find you?
I do monthly webinars. I do host them on my page and follow my Instagram. It's Denise Macias International. And I do those monthly so that I introduce different developments. And then I also host it's called a Global Talk. And that's for a lot of my agents that are like, hey, I want to do global one day. So that's what I help them get started and what to do and, just give them some tips on how to get started.
So yes, thank you for coming and we can have you again sometime. But you were number 10.
Mm-hmm.
So that is also cool
You
because
made it to
I was
10,
told
right?
that we don't podcasts rarely make it to number 10 and Denise is number 10.
Yes.
So 10 is a magic
10,
number and
right?
11 will be 2.
Yes.
It goes to 11.
Yep.
Turn it to 11
Turn it to 11. Yeah.
before you're moving.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for letting me talk about what I love. So, appreciate it, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And next time we'll have another camera, so you're not just going to see the side of my face the whole time.
I don't know why it wasn't connecting.
It's okay.
It said it would just connect and it sometimes does.
Yeah.
Today was having a bad day. It was having a
At least
Thursday.
we don't have to redo it.
Oh, we did have to redo one. I forgot to record. Awkward.
Oh,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks again. Good to see you.
Yeah, go close some deals. Make some money.
Make money because you're coming to the
We're
Riviera.
going to Dubai.